Welcome back. Now, a story on how the U.S. Census impacts our community, what's also known as the Population and Housing Census. It's done once every 10 years, and the deadline to respond for 2020 is quickly approaching. But why is your answer to the census so important? Well, it helps tell the government where certain areas of our community need funding. This can be for things like new construction, new schools, and grants for nonprofits. The local Habitat for Humanity chapter is hoping to receive a grant from that funding to help out more families in the Coastal Bend. Each year, the organization helps build houses like the one you see here. But before families can move in, they are required to take a financial literacy course.
And currently in Corpus, there's not an organization that provides HUD provides HUD housing counseling. So Habitat is in the process of applying to be able to provide those programs in-house. We're going to have to depend on this data that's collected from this current census in order to apply for this program.